everybody, this is John for MTG Nexus coming at you with another modern quick hits video. This one is 5-color mill, kind of. This is a Storm Herald combo deck that can transform into a somewhat more traditional mill deck in the post-board games if your opponent's bringing in, or you suspect your opponent's bringing in, Graveyard Hate. So Storm Herald is from Theros Beyond Death. It's 2 and a red. Whenever Storm Herald enters the battlefield, return any number of aura cards from your battlefield to the graveyard to the battlefield. Attached to creatures you control, exile those auras at the beginning of your next end step. If those auras will leave the battlefield, exile them instead of putting them everywhere. Has haste, so it can come down, kill your opponent in one smack. You also have Hedron Crab and Jace Vryn's Prodigy as cards you can also attach auras to. As far as the auras you have Eldrazi Conscription, which is an absurdly powerful card that costs 8 mana, gives a creature +10/+10, has Trample and Annihilator 2. Produces Growth, creature has +7/+7 and has Trample. And then Battle Mastery, enchanted creature has Double Strike. Hopefully you get the opportunity to just one-shot your opponent with Storm Herald or whatever creature you have in play. Beyond that, you have a self-mill plan involving things like Glimpse the Unthinkable and Hedron Crab as ways to put cards in the graveyard, as well as Jace Vryn's Prodigy and Collective Brutality and Is It Charm to dump your enchantments you draw into your hand. And then 4 copies of Unearth as additional ways to get Storm Heralds or whatever out of the graveyard. Sometimes you might need more than one shot if your opponent's sitting on removal to deal with your creatures. Beyond that, got a bunch of fetch lands, shock lands, and Grixis Colorist to be able to play your spells. And that's pretty much what you're trying to do in game number 1. Game number 2, when you're trying to sidestep what your opponent's doing, you have 4 copies of Ruin Crab, 4 copies of Archive Trap, 4 copies of Jace's Phantasm. This allows you to kind of sidestep your opponent's Graveyard Hate plan. Obviously, Phantasm isn't great, but a lot of the Graveyard Hate that sees play right now is things like Nihil Spellbomb, more targeted removal for the graveyard, as a lot of decks are playing graveyard-based options themselves, like Snapcaster Mage, Tarmogoyf. So you don't necessarily want to get rid of the graveyard entirely, so this is a decent threat. And then obviously Crypt Incursion can come in against the aggressive decks when you're going towards the more mill plan, when you're expecting your opponent to get more aggressive. Now, whether that's good in a lot of matchups, but some matchups might have too much removal for Storm Herald, and then you prepare a bunch of removal plus Graveyard Hate, going to be hard to win with the primary game plan in a lot of the sideboard games. So it's nice to have a transformational sideboard, which I'm kind of always a sucker for in a lot of these decks. So let's get into some matches with it, shall we? Back here with a match with Storm Herald combo. Yeah, seems fine. We have Hedron Crab on 1, and to mill ourselves, and then hopefully find a Storm Herald plus some stuff. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have like a, Okay, we're up against Dredge. Alright. Interesting matchup. Opponent gets an Amalgam. It's interesting that they didn't activate their Stranglehorn. I guess it doesn't particularly matter when they have this kind of a mill plan going on there. Creeping Chill. One's got an Ox. Because the Dredge is going to dredge. It gets 1 Amalgam. Actually not that great of a Dredge, despite the fact that they flipped over a bunch of stuff. Okay, play a Crab. Rid ourselves. Love to find a Storm Herald or something. Fortunately, we did not. So if our opponent kills our own crab, we're going to be in an awkward spot. Opponent, once again, should be activating their Shriekhorn during their upkeep. Probably relatively new to the deck overall, though. So we milled our island, or one of our islands. So next turn we can probably dig 8 deep. Your opponent's going to conflagrate, unfortunately. Or hopefully they just ox here. Nope. No such luck. Gonna fetch my swamp here. Glimpse. Hope we hit a Storm Herald. You's about to die, friend. You's about to die. Doesn't matter. I have trample, friend. I have trample. 3 sets of Annihilator, too. Oh, that's funny. So, I presume we board out the whatchamacallit game plan and just try to mill them out. 14 cards, bring in the other ones, maybe go down at Jace or something. Not actually sure what sideboard plan you're supposed to go with against Mill. But it was just so much fun to do the thing game 1. Yeah, sounds fine, if a little bit awkward. They have Lightning Axe, they have Lightning Axe, it's whatever, I'm not going to fight over it. Feels like a cathartic. Myself for some that time. Don't particularly care about chill, I don't think. Gets a flag, which is unfortunate, but it's whatever. Sure. And we got there with the milk game plan. Nice. Alright. Pretty sweet. Not gonna lie, that deck was a blast to play. So, might be a deck we'll take a look at again in the future. As a friendly reminder, if you do like the deck in particular that you see, please consider commenting down below and giving us a thumbs up on this video. Once again, this deck felt pretty sweet. It wasn't a practice round, but we did beat Dredge, which felt quite nice. So, this has been John for MTG Nexus with another Modern Quick Hits video.